all government spending is taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Start with zero as the baseline for the budget and then see what's actually necessary. The federal government doesn't do it, but successful companies, including the ones that I've built as a CEO, will do it.
And after Donald Trump has won the presidency once again, these two gentlemen will now run the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. As Trump calls it, the Manhattan Project of our time. And for victims of the public school system like me, the Manhattan Project is what developed the first atomic bombs in World War II. And now Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will figure out how our government wastes over $6.5 trillion every year, making a smaller government by 2026. As our government is notorious for frivolous spending.
Whether or not if you gave gin to a sunfish versus tequila, which would make the sunfish more aggressive? Nearly $1 million spent studying whether or not Japanese quail, if you give them cocaine, whether or not they're more sexually promiscuous.
And that's not the only thing, as Senator Rand Paul has called out spending millions of our tax dollars for tourism in Egypt, buying the DOD a lobster tank, and the hundreds of millions that went to singers like Post Malone and Chris Brown, as our national debt will soon surpass $36 trillion. Meanwhile, Dogecoin is shooting to the moon. Now that's not financial advice and nearly irrelevant to the topic, other than the fact that without Elon and Vivek getting to run Doge, at some point Dogecoin would probably surpass the US dollar in terms of value, and I say that knowing full well Dogecoin is a joke that puts far too many coins in circulation to ever attain Bitcoin levels of value. But that's basically what our government was going to do with the US dollar. And knowing all this, swamp creature senators still want to call out the so-called inefficiency of having more than one person running an organization. As Vivek replies, they have no idea what's coming. We're only a few days into a Trump administration that doesn't even start for months, and already there are many names that most Americans simply never heard of. So I want to briefly introduce some of these people that I'm psyched about, somewhat skeptical of, and actually angry over. And I do understand, a short, concise cut of who these people are isn't the best way to decide who you support, as I could easily show you 20 clips of Shohei Ohtani striking out to make you think he's terrible, or 20 pics of Peyton Pritchard draining half-court shots to make you think he's a classier version of Steph Curry. But hopefully this will give you a preview of who these people truly are, as I think Trump's cabinet is about to put a huge chunk of the swamp in DC on EBT, so hopefully they've saved their money. That's why it's great we have the sponsor for today's video, PDS Debt. Even though it's an uncomfortable topic to talk about, with the holiday season coming around, more than half of American consumers took on debt to pay for them. And I know from personal experience how that can feel around the end of the year when everything starts to happen at the same time, especially when you already have debt from college, car payments, or most painfully, self-inflicted credit card debt. But PDS Debt has customized options for anyone struggling with credit cards, medical bills, personal loans, or even debt already in collections. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there is no minimum credit score required, as they strive to understand your specific scenario, providing alternative solutions to paying off your debt. You can save more by paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. So make your plan today and get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/decoyvoice. It only takes 30 seconds at pdsdebt.com/decoyvoice. But back to Trump's victory over Kamala Harris, as one of his first appointments was former ICE Director Tom Homan to replace Kamala as our new border czar. And like many of us, we haven't heard the name Homan before, but we have seen him in action.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Homan,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way.
That's just the perfect encapsulation of government bureaucrat versus someone that actually did the job function, where AOC knows all the buzzwords and key phrases to get her point across to other congresspeople, but Homan actually knows what it is to be out there in the field. And having someone that knows the long-lasting effects of what Washington says makes me confident we will finally have someone actually taking care of our borders.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
And just like when the Democrats cried over the cost of Trump's border wall, then turning around spending tenfold on the effects of not having said border wall, 60 Minutes has the audacity to complain about cost when it comes to the safety of the American people. And I really love how Homan approaches bad press, as he embodies what Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ran on during his presidential campaign, saying, "I'm going to do unpopular things in the media, but I'm willing to take the hits in the public eye in order to make you safer," as deporting entire families sounds insensitive, especially when eventually the Democrat-run media gets the footage, the headline behind Homan's deportations. But Homan doesn't strike me as someone who cares what anybody thinks, as long as he knows, long run, this is going to be a net positive. Of course, the optics of a secure border and enforcing citizenship laws will look terrible, but not as terrible as the alternative of the women being trafficked into our cities, currently selling themselves, and the hundreds of thousands of missing kids. And you only get that type of wisdom if, like Tom Homan, you worked in the field seeing it firsthand. Meanwhile, these politicians were running fundraisers for their re-election campaigns, completely oblivious to the real damage their decisions in DC made. Now, Trump has appointed another person that likely isn't a household name, naming Pete Hegseth as his Secretary of Defense. Getting degrees from Princeton and Harvard, serving in combat in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and earning 2 Bronze Stars. But like Homan, Hegseth calls it how he sees it.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated.
So the mainstream media made sure to portray him negatively as possible.
Is this the guy who's qualified to make decisions about the most powerful military in the world, who clearly does not know anything about the military?
You know, and also I feel insulted. I'm a morning TV host. And I've been here the longest.
Yes.
Where's my ambassadorship to Italy, Donald? Was it something I said?
Beyond what he's saying just about women.
And they keep harping on the idea that he's a Fox News host, trying to compare their experience on TV as valid reasons to receive cabinet positions, which genuinely makes me wonder, are they purposely misrepresenting Hegseth's experience to mislead their audience into thinking Trump's picks are stupid? Or are they themselves this stupid, not knowing that he got this pick due to his military history and not TV appearances? As Hegseth clearly sees what's wrong with our military.
The deeper question is, how did the military allow itself to go woke? The dumbest phrase on planet Earth in the military is our diversity is our strength. China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. That is their strategic outset. Take hypersonic missiles. So if our whole power projection platform is aircraft carriers and the ability to project power that way strategically around the globe, and yeah, we have a nuclear triad and all of that, but a big part of it. And if, 15 hypersonic missiles can take out our 10 aircraft carriers in the first 20 minutes of a conflict, what does that look like?
So like Homan, I couldn't care less what the media has to say about Hegseth, as he seems to be the ideal candidate to take on what's currently ailing America, and the mainstream media's disapproval of him almost makes me like him more, as at this point, if CNN and The View were singing his praises, we'd suddenly be suspicious of him. The same with Donald Trump's choice in Attorney General, which out of nowhere is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who has long been saying we need to fix the DOJ.
Why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
So needless to say, CNN isn't a fan of Matt Gaetz becoming the AG.
This is a crazy pick. This is a dangerous pick. I wish there was a gentler way to say it, but there's no use mincing words. I was a prosecutor.
As Gaetz is a wild card that has no qualms in tearing it all down.
We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them, if they do not come to heel.
And Gaetz was the guy that actually tried to abolish the ATF back in 2023. Now, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance did say Gaetz prosecuted his political opponents and went after parents peacefully protesting their school board. Oh no, that's the current AG. So it's basically addition by subtraction. These might not be the most conventional picks, but at this point, that's probably what we need. And the more they're willing to say whatever's on their mind, no matter the backlash, makes me think they're actually willing to do the job, instead of carefully guarding their image to not dare offend the media, sacrificing America in the meantime. And for the Director of National Intelligence, Donald Trump just appointed former Congresswoman, Lieutenant Colonel, and what I consider Democrat presidential frontrunner, Tulsi Gabbard, citing her service in our military, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs committees while in Congress. Now, many people know her from when she absolutely destroyed Kamala's presidential ambitions in 2020.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
But more importantly, she is not afraid to speak her mind.
There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens.
And I talked about how dangerous Kamala Harris would be as our president and commander-in-chief. I was added to a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies.
So the woman that was on watch lists will now oversee all military intelligence, the NSA, CIA, and basically anybody going after her before. Now, many others were concerned over her appointment, as she was a Democrat just a few months ago. But honestly, I think this is a good move, besides the fact that Tulsi is objectively an amazing person and exactly who we need heading our agencies. But the idea that Trump appointed a liberal into his cabinet just solidifies that this is the party of the people, especially when Republicans like Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney are leaving to join what is now the party of the establishment. Now on to picks that people are wary of, as Senator Marco Rubio has been chosen to be his Secretary of State, someone who Trump himself once called a total lightweight, that he wouldn't hire to run one of his smaller companies, and he is a overrated politician. As in 2020, he voluntarily posted how he couldn't bear watch himself getting a shot, but might not tell his full story.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
so I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians.
So do we like warmongers? Absolutely not. But we can appreciate someone in politics that's absolutely unapologetic about their stances, shoving it down the faces of anyone trying to shame them into changing their minds. And although this is a confusing and possibly disappointing pick, I would just like to hope that Trump has seen a side of him that we haven't. And even if he turns into a terrible pick, this time around Trump will be quick to return to his roots.
They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired.
And there's plenty of other picks like Governor Kristi Noem, notorious for popping her puppy, now heading our Department of Homeland Security. But who I really want to talk about is who could potentially run the FBI. Rumored to be Kash Patel.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers. And and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for the next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government.
Which for all I know, somebody else could be announced by the time I edit and release this video. But the common theme I'm seeing in the mentality of Trump's picks are smaller, more goal-oriented government agencies. There's a whole lot of bloat in DC, and the only people desperately trying to protect it are the same exact people that probably don't serve a real purpose, as I really believe you could replace the entire DC press apparatus with this channel, Decoy Voice, communicating whatever's going on over there quickly and concise, but with lighthearted language, as Americans are tired of being lied to by dudes in suits on television, rambling for hours, when you can hear the truth written in haiku from me in 1/10 the time. So Elon, Vivek, my DMs are open, as efficiency is literally the entire concept of this channel, and it wouldn't cost the taxpayers a penny, as I could get paid off the promotion alone. And in the event they never see this, if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video on how constant fear-mongering in the media can have actual tragic consequences.